here is the hydrogen element. So this hydrogen element here, this element combines with oxygen elements to form water. It means what? The element is combining with element to give a compound. So this particular type of reaction in which element combines with element to form a particular new compound, these combination reactions are termed as a synthesis reaction because the element is synthesizing a new compound. So you should remember this category, that when the element combine with another element, just like here magnesium is combining with oxygen to form magnesium oxide. Here you see hydrogen is combining with, here you see hydrogen is combining with chlorine to form HCl. So this particular type of reaction are called as synthesis reaction. Why they are called as synthesis reaction? Because the elements are combining to synthesize a new compound, that is the product. Okay, moving to the next slide, that is talking about the another examples in which here you see NH3, it is a compound. NH3 is what? A compound. It is combining with HCl compound to give another compound. So this particular reaction is termed as, with no name, it is just called a combination reaction in which compound 1 is combining with compound 2 to form another new compound. So these are the examples of the compound which is combining with compound to form another new compound. Here you see calcium oxide combining with carbon dioxide to form calcium carbonate. Here you see two reactants and a single product. Here you see two reactants and a single product. Another example is addition of oxygen to the carbon monoxide. So this is element, this is compound. This is element and this is compound. Compound is formed by the combination of two or more elements or two or more atoms formed with a chemical bond or stick together with a chemical bond in a fixed ratio by their masses. So this is an element of oxygen, this is an element, or I can say a molecule of oxygen, or this is the molecule of carbon monoxide, or it is just, I can say it's a compound. So here it is forming what? That is carbon dioxide. So these are the examples, these are the various different examples in which you have seen, that is when element is combining with another element, it forms compound. This particular reaction is named as a synthesis reaction, and the another two different type of combination reactions are in which compound is combining with compound to form a compound, and compound is combining with element to form compound. So this special reaction is named as a synthesis reaction. So let's proceed to another reaction, that is decomposition reactions. As the name suggests, it is decomposition. So what is decomposing here? The reactant is decomposing into different new products. So how this decomposition comes into action? It is come into action with the help of energy. The energy can be either heat energy, light energy, or electric energy. So the breaking up of substances into simpler substances by the application of energy is called as, or is termed as, the decomposition reaction. Just if I write it like this, the A here is, it is a reactant, and with the help of energy it is forming the products that are B and C. Or I can simply say, for the decomposition reaction to occur, we need energy. So you are getting the idea, that decomposition reactions are what? Decomposition reactions are endothermic in nature because energy is utilized in the breaking up of bonds between the atoms, which are present in a molecule, and new bonds are forming. So the net amount of energy is decreasing. So we can say that the endothermic reactions are generally endothermic. So the decomposition reactions are generally endothermic in nature. Here you see the pictorial representation, that is when the reactants break, it forms two or more than two different compounds. Moving into its examples, so let's see its examples, like the KClO3. When we heat KClO3 or potassium chlorate, it decomposes into KCl and oxygen. The another example is the AgBr, that is silver bromide. When silver bromide is exposed to sunlight, it it decomposes to give silver and bromine. The next example is the heating of calcium carbonate. When calcium carbonate is heated, it forms calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So these are the examples. So let us now study about the types of decomposition reactions. What are the different types of decomposition reactions? So there are three different types of decomposition reactions. The first is the thermal decomposition, the next is the photo decomposition, and the last is the electric decomposition reaction. So what are these different types of reactions? As the name suggests, in this particular type of decomposition, heat energy is required. That's why the name thermal decomposition given to it. In this particular photo decomposition reaction, the photo comes from the photons which is present in the sunlight or in the electromagnetic radiations that are coming from the sun. So photo decomposition reactions it means what? That the light energy, that the reaction is proceeding with the help of light energy. So what is happening in the electrical decomposition reaction? In the electrical decomposition reaction, a decomposition is happening with the help of electricity. If we pass the electricity, then the breakdown or the breaking up of any compound takes place. So this comes in the electric decomposition reaction. So moving to some videos, that is, here you see, that is, I have taken sugar in this test tube. So here sugar is taken, and what happens when we heat this sugar? Here you see that sugar starts to melt. First its color changes to this, and then after the breakdown of the sugar molecule takes place, its color changes completely to black. See in this video. Here you can see that the decomposition is taking place and also the black coloration is appearing. So what happens when this so here you can see that after heating sugar, it decomposes completely to form a black color substance which is a carbon. So it is a chemical reaction, and of course it's a chemical reaction, that's why we are studying it in thermal decomposition reaction. So what is the reaction that is taking place here? So writing the reaction, that is sugar, that is C12H22O11, which is the formula for sugar since it is in the solid state. On when we heating it, so for heating I have written the symbol delta, and it forms carbon plus H2O. So here carbon is in the solid form which is black in color, while the water vapor here you see is coming out of the test tube. So here the water is in the form of gaseous state. So on balancing this reaction, that is 12 and 11 here, this is a balanced reaction. So moving to another decomposition, that is the electric decomposition. So here what happens, let us see this video. So here you see what happens when we pass electricity through this water. When we pass electricity through this water, what happens? The bubble starts to forming. So what are these bubbles? If the electricity is passed through water, water decomposes to form hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. So here water, which is in the liquid state, it decomposing in the presence of electricity to form hydrogen gas as well as the oxygen gas. So now moving into the another type of decomposition, that is the photo decomposition reaction. And as I have told you earlier, that in the photo decomposition reaction, a decomposition occurs in the presence of sunlight. So here you see this part, that is, it is the AgCl or silver chloride. So what happens when we expose this silver chloride to sunlight? So let us start the video. And erase this part. So here you see a white color silver chloride, and what happens when I expose it to sunlight? On exposing it to sunlight, what happens? The silver chloride which is present not in contact with this or not under this ring has changed its color to, that is, gray, and the part which is covered under this ring has not changed its color. So here you see that is a white color of silver chloride, while here you see that is only silver, and the chlorine gas has been exposed to the atmosphere. So how this decomposition reaction occurs? Let us write the reaction. So AgCl, which is for silver chloride for photo decomposition. So for photo decomposition, here you use sunlight, or you can either use simply light. So what is happening? It is forming Ag, which is in the solid form, and chlorine gas is liberated to the atmosphere. So this is a particular reaction for photo decomposition reaction. Let us move to the another, that is displacement reaction. So in the displacement reaction, so what happens in a single displacement reaction, or simply a displacement reaction, a more reactive metal or a more reactive non-metal, or I can say simply a more reactive element. A more reactive element displaces less reactive element from its salt solution. Remember one thing, metal displace only metal, non-metal will displace non-metal. It will never be that metal is displacing non-metal. No, the more reactive metal will displace less reactive metal from its salt solution, and the less reactive non-metal never displaces more reactive non-metal from its salt solution. So here is the representation of the displacement reaction, in which here X is what? X is the more reactive. Here X is what? X is the more reactive element, and it is displacing the less reactive element, that is Y. It is displacing the less reactive element, that is Y, from its salt solution. So here it will form Xz plus Y. It means that Y has been displaced. So let us check some examples. That is, if zinc is put into the copper sulfate solution, the copper sulfate solution is what? The copper sulfate solution is blue in color. So when zinc is dipped in copper sulfate solution, what happens? The white color of zinc sulfate solution appears, and the copper, which is brown in color, is displaced out from the reaction. Why this happens? Because zinc is more reactive than copper, and since zinc is more reactive than copper, that's why it is displacing copper from its salt solution. The another example is that copper, when put in the AgNO3 or silver nitrate solution, which is also white in color, what happens in this particular reaction? Copper, which is more reactive than silver, it displaces silver from its salt solution, forming white color of copper nitrate, and silver is displaced from it. So how can we judge which element is more reactive and which element is less reactive? For that we have to study about the reactivity series of elements. Yes, the reactivity series of elements, for which the reactivity series of metals are also there, and the reactivity series of non-metals are also there. So we are going to see, but before moving into that, let's check the example that we have studied in here, that is the addition of zinc to copper sulfate solution and the formation of zinc sulfate along with the displacement of copper. So here you see the color of the solution is blue because it is a copper sulfate solution, and there you see this is the piece of zinc. So what happens when you dip the zinc in this beaker? This is not the instantaneous reaction, it will take some time. Then after the proceed of this reaction, what happens? The brownish color will deposit over this metal piece, and some of will get displaced at the bottom of this beaker, and the solution which was blue in color turns to colorless. So what is the mechanism and how it is acting? So here you clearly see the zinc metal which is present in the sheets are moving to the zinc metal which are present in the sheets are moving to the solution in the form of ions as Zn+2 ions, and while the Cu+2 ions which are present in the solutions are coming to the are moving to the piece of to this piece of metal, or we can also say that the copper will get deposited at the bottom of the test tube or the beaker. So this is the mechanism of the displacement reaction. So let us now study what is the reactivity series of elements. For that we are going to study first the reactivity series of metals. The reactivity series of metals is a series of metal in which the more reactive metal is placed at the top, followed by the lower reactive metals, or I can say it's a decreasing order of reactivity of metals, starting from the top reactive metal and moving to the less reactive metals. So here you see this is the reactivity series of metal. The more reactive metal is potassium, the least reactive metal is gold. Remember one thing, we have not included all the metals that are present on the earth, or they are given in the periodic table. We have only used those metals that we use in our day-to-day life. So the potassium is more reactive than sodium. So here is the reactivity series: potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron, lead, hydrogen, copper, mercury, silver and gold. Yes, platinum is also as less reactive as gold, but as suggested by CBSE we are using only this table. So the most reactive metal is placed at the top and the least reactive metal are placed at the bottom. And in this particular table, remember one thing, here you encounter with hydrogen. Hydrogen is a non-metal. But why it is placed in the reactivity series of metal? Because of the two reasons. First, the hydrogen has one electron in its outermost shell and it only requires one electron to form a duplet. So it acts as a non-metal in that case. But like the alkalis which gives one electron, hydrogen may also give one electron to form H plus cation. So in this respect it follows the active metal, the alkali metals or the metals which are placed in the group 1. And the second reason is that if I talk about water, if I talk about acids, they all have hydrogen in them. So when the metal reacts with acids or water, there is a displacement reaction. So to check whether the metal will displace hydrogen from water or acid, the hydrogen is placed in this reactivity series. It means what? That all of these metals, these reactive metals will displace hydrogen from acids as well as from water. And these reactions we are going to study in the chapter that are metal and non-metals, and also some of the reactions in the chapter acids and bases. So what we are focusing here, that the more reactive metal will displace the less reactive metal from the salt solution. So let us check some of the examples. So moving to some of the examples, if I say potassium is more reactive than sodium, which is more reactive than calcium, which is more reactive than magnesium and aluminium. So I am doing some of the questions like K2SO4 when it is in the aqueous form, when it is mixed with sodium. So what happens? Again I am having NaCl in the aqueous form, and if I am using magnesium in this particular solution, what will happen? Here it is in the solid form. If I am having the magnesium chloride in the aqueous form, or we can say the aqueous solution of magnesium chloride, and in this we add sodium metal, what will be the reaction? Let us take another example. Say if I am using aluminium sulfate, and when it is mixed with what? Potassium, how the reaction will proceed. So before moving into the reaction, before writing the product, first check the reactive metals. Which metal is more reactive than another metal? Here you see sodium and here you see potassium. Here you see the aqueous solution of potassium sulfate. So sodium is what? Sodium is, here you see sodium is less reactive than potassium. So will sodium displace potassium from its salt solution? No. Sodium will never displace potassium from its salt solution. So this reaction will never ever proceed. Let us check for the another example. When magnesium is dipped in NaCl solution, here magnesium is also less reactive than sodium. So the magnesium will also not displace sodium from its salt solution, and also this reaction will not proceed. What happens in this particular reaction? When sodium is dipped in MgCl2 solutions, sodium, which is more reactive than magnesium, it displaces magnesium from its salt solution. So this reaction will proceed, and what will be the products of this reaction? That is Mg. So what are the products of this reaction? That are NaCl, and the magnesium is displaced in the solid form. So this reaction has proceeded. Let's moving into another reaction, that is aluminium sulfate when reacting with potassium. Here you see potassium is more reactive than aluminium. Potassium is more reactive than aluminium. So it will displace aluminium from its salt solution, thereby forming K2SO4, which is potassium sulfate. So you will get the aqueous solution of potassium sulfate along with the displacement of aluminium in the solid form. So here are some of the examples. So these examples and some of the examples which are related to these comes in your competitive examination. And how can you do those exam and how can you do those questions? You can attempt those questions if you know the reactivity series of metals. Okay, so moving to another reactivity series of non-metals. So what are the reactivity series of non-metals? We are not interested in all the non-metals. We are interested in only halogens. And what are halogens? Halogens are fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. So the reactivity series of non-metal is as follows. Fluorine is more reactive than chlorine, which is more reactive than bromine, which is more reactive than iodine. It means that the chlorine will displace bromine from its salt solution, or fluorine will displace chlorine, bromine and iodine from their salt solution. So let us take some of the examples. So these are some of the examples and this is the reactivity series. So you can easily, very easily answer each one of them. Just remember this sequence. So here this is the reactivity series of non-metals in which fluorine is more reactive than chlorine, which is more reactive than bromine and which is more reactive than iodine. It means that the chlorine will displace bromine from its salt solution and bromine will displace iodine from its salt solution, but iodine is not able to displace either bromine, chlorine or fluorine from their salt solution because its reactivity is less. So let us find out some of the examples. So in these examples, what is happening when NaBr is reacting with bromine? So bromine here is either more reactive or less reactive than chlorine. It is less reactive than chlorine. So the bromine here will not displace this chlorine from its salt solution. So this reaction will not proceed. Moving to another reaction, that is Ki, that is potassium iodide, on reacting with bromine. So here bromine, which is more reactive than iodine, will displace iodine from its salt solution, thereby forming KBr plus I2. So we have seen these two reactions. Moving to the third reaction, or I can say this is the example for you I am solving here. So MgCl2 on reacting with I2 happens what? So here you see that is iodine. So here iodine is at the last, which is the least reactive of all the halogens. This table here is of halogens. So iodine is less reactive than bromine, chlorine and fluorine. So iodine is not able to displace chlorine from its salt solution. So what is happening here? Here this particular reaction will also not occur. Moving to the fourth reaction, that is KBr on reacting with chlorine. Will this reaction proceed? Let's find it out. So chlorine, which is more reactive than bromine, will displace bromine from its salt solution. So here it will form, that is KCl plus Br2. So these are some of the examples that you have seen. So now moving back, so what is double displacement reaction? The double displacement reactions are those reactions in which there is a mutual exchange of ions takes place, or there is a mutual exchange of radicals taking place. So here let us see how does this reaction looks like. So in this particular reaction, suppose if you are having a compound say AB, when it is reacting with XY, so what are the products formed and how the mutual exchange of ions taking place. So on watching, here you see this particular compound is made up of two ions. So because I am talking about the mutual exchange of ions, so I have to represent some ions here. So here A plus, this is a cation, while B minus is anion. In this particular compound, X plus is cation while Y minus is anion. Or I am simply just saying that A is cation while X is also cation, and B is anion, also Y is anion. So what will happen here? Here there is a mutual exchange of ions taking place, or I can say mutual exchange of radicals taking place. So this A here will displace only X, and the X which is displaced will take the position of A, thereby forming AY and XB. Remember one thing, that the cation will take the place of only cation and anion will take the place of only anion. So here you see two reactions in which BaCl2 on reacting with Na2SO4, it forms BaSO4 and NaCl. So here you see what are the ions present here. So here, that is first Ba plus 2 ion, that is barium ion, and Cl minus anion is there, and here Na plus ion, which is a cation, and SO4 2 minus, that is anion. So here Ba plus 2, that is the barium ion, will exchange its place with the Na plus ion and thereby forming BaSO4 and NaCl. Also you see that this BaSO4 is what? It is a white color precipitate which settles down at the bottom. Next, that is NaCl on reacting with AgNO3, thereby forming AgCl and NaNO3. So here you see two compounds, that is NaCl, which is sodium chloride, when it reacts with AgNO3, which is silver nitrate. So here you see that is Na plus, which is a cation, Cl minus, that is anion. In this Ag plus, that is also cation, and NO3 minus, that is anion. So what is happening here? This silver is exchanging its place with sodium, or I can say that sodium is exchanging place with silver, or I can also say that chlorine is exchanging its position with NO3 minus, that is nitrate ion. So thereby forming AgCl and NaNO3. Here also you can see that S, which is stands for precipitate. It means that this AgCl is also formed in this particular solution. We have already seen this. This is barium chloride, that is BaCl2. When it reacts with sodium sulfate, that is Na2SO4, it will form what? It will form white color precipitate of BaSO4, that is barium sulfate, and the solution in which this particular precipitate is present is NaCl. So here you get the NaCl in the aqueous form while the BaSO4 in the precipitate form. Moving to the next, that is the next type, exothermic reactions and endothermic reactions. This you have already studied in your lecture number 2. What are exothermic reactions? Those reactions in which heat energy is given out. What are endothermic reactions? In which heat energy is utilized. The energy, I am talking about the energy can be in the form of heat, light or electricity, but in most of the reactions we see only heat energy. So what is the correct definition of exothermic reactions? The reaction in which the energy is given out. And what is the correct definition of endothermic reactions? The reaction in which the heat energy is absorbed. So students, now moving into some of the questions. So moving to the first question, that is, it says classify the following reactions. Here you are given 5 reactions and you have to balance these particular reactions. So first reaction says that N2 plus O2 gives 2NO minus heat. So you have to identify that this is which type of particular reaction. Remember one thing, that a particular reaction can be of many types. So here, seeing this particular reaction, it involves heat energy. It means that we have to classify it on the basis of exothermic and endothermic reactions. You can also classify it on the basis of another type of reactions, that is combination, decomposition, displacement, double displacement reactions. So here you see it is a type of what? It is a type of reactants gives products minus energy. So here reactants gives products minus energy. It means that the energy must be add up to the reactant side. So you can also write this particular reaction as reactant plus energy gives product, and this particular form of reaction comes in the endothermic reaction. So the above reaction which is given here is a type of endothermic reaction. Also, can you name it on basis of another reaction? Also, this particular reaction is a type of combination reaction in which nitrogen is combining with oxygen to form nitrous oxide. So this particular reaction can also be a type of combination reaction. So I hope you all understood that a particular reaction can be of any type. You can name the particular reaction on the basis of either one or two types. Also, when you read about the redox reactions, you can also classify and name the particular reactions on the basis of redox reactions. So moving on to the another, and first erase this. So second part says that HgO gives Hg plus O2. So here you can easily see that a particular single reactant is decomposing to give two products. So this particular type of reaction here, it is called the decomposition reaction. And since here on the arrow nothing is given, either heat, light or electricity, so you can simply name is at the decomposition reaction. If here heat energy has been provided, so you have to name it as the thermal decomposition reaction. So now moving into the third question, that is Na2SO4 plus BaCl2 gives 2NaCl plus BaSO4. So here you see that sodium sulfate on reacting with barium chloride gives NaCl, that is sodium chloride, and BaSO4, that is barium sulfate. So here you have to classify this particular reaction. So here you see that the charge which is present on Na is Na plus, while on SO4 that is SO4 2 minus, on Ba that is Ba plus 2, and on chlorine that is Cl minus. Here Na the charge is Na plus, and on chlorine that is Cl minus. Also on this BaSO4 the charge on Ba is plus 2, while that on the SO4 is 2 minus. So here you see that nothing changes, no charge is changing, simply the exchange of radicals. The cation is changed with the cation and the anion is changed with the anion. So this particular type of reaction is a double displacement reaction. So I am naming here it as double displacement reaction. Now moving into the fourth type, that is CSO4 plus zinc gives ZnSO4 plus Cu. So here you see that zinc metal, which is more reactive than copper, is displacing copper from its salt solution, thereby forming ZnSO4, and the displaced copper is out of this solution. So here this particular example is a displacement reaction. So you have classified one as an endothermic and combination reaction, the second as a decomposition reaction, the third as the double displacement reaction, fourth as the displacement reactions. So moving to the fifth reaction, that is NH3 plus HCl gives NH4Cl. So here you see that there are two reactants, that is R1 and R2, and they both are combining to give a single product. So this particular type of reaction comes under the combination reaction. So here you have completed this particular question. Now moving on to the next question, that is balance the following equations. So in this particular questions you are provided with 3 points, so you have to balance each equation correctly. So for balancing you need to know that you have to balance the atoms both on the reactant side as well as on the product side. So here you see that HgO gives Hg plus O2. So here on the reactant side the number of Hg, that is the mercury atom, is 1, while that on the product side it is also 1. So mercury is already balanced. Moving to the oxygen, on the reactant side number of oxygen atoms are 1, while that on the product side the number of oxygen atoms are 2. So for balancing we have to write the stoichiometric coefficient, that is 2 in front of the HgO to balance the oxygen atoms, while on putting 2 here the mercury is unbalanced. So we have to put what? We have to put again 2 just before the mercury. Now this particular reaction is balanced. Moving to the second part, that is C4H10, that is butane, on reacting with oxygen gives CO2 plus H2O. Here the combustion of butane takes place. So you have to balance this particular reaction. So here you see that is the number of carbon atom in the reactant side is 4, while that on the product side it is 1. So we have to multiply it with the 4. So now what happens when we multiply it with 4? The number of carbon atoms are balanced. Moving to the number of hydrogen atoms. The number of hydrogen atoms on the reactant side are 10, while that on the product side that are 2. So we have to multiply this H2O with the factor 5. So this particular 5 on multiplying with the water, it makes H, that is total hydrogen atoms, be 10. So total number of hydrogen atoms on both the reactant side as well as on the product sides are 10. Now moving to the oxygen, here you see only 2 oxygen atoms, while in the product side you see that is 4 2s are 8 plus total 5. So here you see total 13 oxygen atoms, while here you see only 2 oxygen atoms. So how do we balance it? If we multiply it with the help of 6, it will become only 12 oxygen atoms. So here only oxygen atoms are unbalanced. So first of all what I have to do, I have to multiply it and make it as a number of atoms equal. So I am multiplying this particular with the help of 13 by 2 to make the number of oxygen atoms equal. But remember, we cannot multiply any reactant with the fraction. So what I have to do to cancel this fraction, I have to multiply this whole equation with a factor of 2. So on multiplying this whole equation by the factor of 2, we get what? We get 2 C4H10, that is in the gaseous form, on reacting with 13 O2, which is also in the gaseous form, forms 2 is multiplied by 4, that is 8 CO2 in the gaseous form, while 5 multiplied by 2 gives 10 H2O, which is in the liquid form. So here you get the balanced chemical equation. So the stoichiometric are, that is 2 for C4H10, 13 for O2, 8 for CO2 and 10 for H2O. So this is what? This is a balanced chemical equation. Now moving on to the next, that is BaCl2 plus Al2SO4 whole thrice gives AlCl3 plus BaSO4. So for writing and balancing this particular equation, I have to erase this part. So on erasing this part and writing this, so here you see the barium atoms are only 1, while in the case of this product side you also see the barium atoms are 1. It means that barium is already balanced, while the chlorine atoms here 2, while the chlorine atoms that are present here that are 3. So chlorine is unbalanced. Moving to the aluminium, here you see 2 aluminium atoms, while here you see only 1 aluminium atom. And also for the sulfate radical, we will move to the sulfate radical. Also we can take the sulfur atoms. So counting the sulfur atoms, there are 3 sulfur atoms, and here there is only 1 sulfur atom, while the oxygen atoms, that is 4 3s are 12. So there are 12 oxygen atoms, while in the case of the product side there are only 4 oxygen atoms, or I can say here the sulfate radical is 3 while the sulfate radical is 1 in the product side. And what is sulfate radical? Sulfate radical is SO4 2 minus. Now on balancing and making the number of atoms equal on both the reactant side and as well on the product side, here you see that the aluminium here are 2 while here is 1. So I multiply it with the help of 2. So aluminium becomes 2 while the chlorine atoms which are present here will become 3 to the 6. So chlorine atoms will become 6 here. While in the case of this there are only 2 chlorine atoms. So it means I have to multiply this barium chloride with the coefficient 3 to make the number of chlorine atoms equal. So here the chlorine atom also becomes 6 while the barium are unbalanced. So to balance the barium we have to multiply this barium sulfate with the 3. So on multiplying barium sulfate with the help of 3, it automatically balance what? It automatically balance this sulfate ion, or I can say the sulfur that are 3. So here sulfur is also 3. The oxygen atom that are here that are 4 3s are 12 while in this case that is 4 3s are 12. So this particular reaction is balanced now. So I'll mark it. So here you can see the coefficient 3 for barium chloride. The coefficient, if nothing is given, it means that a coefficient 1 is present here. So here the coefficient is what? Here the coefficient is 1. While in the case AlCl3 the coefficient is what? The coefficient is 2. While in the case of BaSO4 the coefficient is 3. Now all three reactions are balanced. So now moving on to the another question, that is in the reaction, this particular reaction you have been given X PbNO3 whole twice. When you heat it, it forms PbO and the coefficient of PbO is Y, while the coefficient of PbNO3 whole twice is X. You get YPbO plus ZNO2 plus O2, and you have to identify what? You have to identify X, Y and Z in this particular reaction. So for proceeding such type of reactions, what you have to do? You have to simply balance the number of atoms both on the reactant side as well as on the product side. So on balancing the number of atoms, you get what? So on balancing, here you see, so I'm writing this whole reaction here. You get PbO NO2 plus O2. Now here you see number of nitrogen atoms that are present here is 2. So if I multiply it with the help of 2, number of nitrogen atoms are balanced. Lead, which is 1 here, which is also 1 here, lead is already balanced. Moving to the oxygen, the number of oxygen atoms are 3 to the 6, while in this case number of oxygen atoms are 1 plus 2 to the 4 plus 2, that is 7. So here number of oxygen atom is unbalanced. So what can I do? I have to move to the another number for balancing this particular type of reaction. So I have to remove what? I have to remove this 2 from NO2, and I have to place what? I have to place some another number for balancing this particular reaction. So if I place here 2, this makes lead nitrate 2 molecules, and lead nitrates are 2. So here for balancing it becomes 2 PbO, and also here you see the number of nitrogen atoms that are present here, that is 2 multiplied by 2, that is 4. So number of nitrogen atoms are 4 in the reactant side, while that on the product side it is also 1. So for making it 4, we have to multiply it with the coefficient of 4. So on multiplying it with the coefficient of 4, it becomes what? It becomes balanced. The nitrogen atoms are balanced. 2 to the 4 and 4 here, it is balanced. The number of oxygen atoms, while seeing the number of oxygen atoms, you can see 3 to the 6 to the 12. The number of oxygen atoms that are present on the reactant side is 12, while that on the product side it is 2 plus 4 to the 8 plus 2. So that comes out to be 12. So here number of oxygen atoms are also balanced. So these coefficients, that is 2, 2 and 4 and 1. So these are the coefficients of PbNO3 whole twice, PbO, NO2 and O2 respectively. So what we have to find? We have to find X. So what is X? X is the coefficient of PbNO3 whole twice or lead nitrate. What is Y? Lead. Y is the coefficient of PbO, that is 2, while Z is the coefficient of NO2, that is 4. So you can see the value of X, Y, Z are 2, 2, 4. So here you see in this case, that is in option number B. So for this particular question, the option B is correct. And remember, this type of balancing question comes very often in your examinations, mostly in the NTSC examinations. Moving that is in the reaction FeSO4 plus X gives Na2SO4 plus FeOH whole twice. So here in this particular reaction, what you have to find? You have to find this missing substance. So this particular reactant on reacting with X forms these particular two types of substances, or I can say these two particular types of product. So what you have to find? You have to find the chemical formula for X. So here you see that the number of atoms that are present in the reactant side will always be equal to the number of atoms that are present on the product side if the reaction is balanced. But if the reaction is not balanced, the atoms would also be there in the reactant as well as in the product side. So here you see the iron atom is there, and here you see the iron atom is also there. Here you see sulfate, and here you see also sulfate. So it means that iron and sulfate are present here. So the substance that X is made up of could be what? Could be from the Na and OH. So the best possible formula for the substance to exist in the form of Na and OH is what? That is NaOH. So here you can get the NaOH compound. So this particular answer number C is correct. Moving to another question, that is H2SO4 gives 2 NaOH gives Na2SO4 plus H2O. So above reaction is A. So here you are given 4 options, and out of these 4 options you have to choose the very correct option. So H2SO4 on reacting with NaOH, so here this is what? This is an acid. When it reacts with NaOH, which is what? A base, it forms Na2SO4, which is salt, and here H2O, that is water. So this particular type of reaction is what? This particular type of reaction is a neutralization reaction. So this particular type of reaction is what? Neutralization reaction. Also seeing that here what is happening here, hydrogen is exchanging its place with sodium, or you can say that OH is exchanging its place with SO4. So here what is happening? There is a mutual exchange of radicals taking place. So this is also an example of what? That is double displacement reaction. So which option matches correctly? That is 1 and 2. So option B is correct. Moving to another question, that is write the balanced chemical equation for the following reaction. So what you have to do? You have to write, this is word equation, and you have to write the symbolic equation for this particular reaction and also balance them, because here it has been asked that you have to write the balanced chemical equation. So writing for the first part, that is zinc carbonate gives what? Zinc oxide plus carbon dioxide. So what is the formula of zinc carbonate? That is ZnCO3 in solid form. It gives zinc oxide. So what is the formula of zinc oxide? That is ZnO in the solid form, and carbon dioxide, that is CO2 in the gaseous form. So what you have to do? You have to balance this particular reaction. But here you see the number of zinc atoms, the number of carbon atoms, the number of oxygen atoms are equal to the number of zinc atoms, number of carbon atoms, and number of oxygen atoms in the product side. So this particular equation is already balanced. So you no need to balance this particular equation. Now writing this second part. So for second part you are given, that is potassium bromide. So formula for potassium bromide is KBr. It is in the aqueous form. When it combines with barium iodide, that is BaI2 in aqueous form, it forms potassium iodide, that is Ki in aqueous form, and barium bromide, that is BaBr2 in the aqueous form. Now what you have to do? You have to balance this particular reaction. So here you see that is the number of iodine atoms in the reactant side, while in the product side here is 2 and here it is 1. So you have to multiply this Ki with the 2, balancing the iodine in the product side, while the potassium is now become unbalanced. So here what you have to do? You have to multiply the KBr, that is potassium bromide, with the coefficient of 2. So on multiplying this, potassium become balanced, while bromine, so checking for bromine, bromine has already balanced in this particular type of reaction. As you can see here, on multiplying it with 2, the bromine BaBr2 bromine is also balanced here. So now checking for the barium, barium here is 1 and barium here is also 1. So now this particular reaction is balanced. So now moving into another type of example, that is here you are given a diagram in which the test tube being poured into this flask, and here you see that in the flask Ki present, which is what? Potassium iodide, and to this we have added what? That is lead nitrate solution. So what from the above experimental setup, what precipitate we obtain and what is the color of the precipitate. So on seeing the reaction, first of all, what you have to do, we have to see the particular reaction. So here we see that Ki on reacting with lead nitrate, it forms lead iodide and potassium nitrate solution. So here this PbI2 is what? PbI2 here is a precipitate, and so for precipitate I am writing this downward arrow, and you know what is the color of this lead iodide. The lead iodide color is yellow. The lead iodide color is yellow. So here from this experiment you see that the precipitate we obtain is what? That is the lead iodide, and its color is yellow. So option A is correct. Moving to another, that is assignment. So these are the questions that are for you to do and practice more and more questions just like that we have discussed here. So for objective type you have to do 13 to 20, and for the subjective type questions you have to do 10 to 15 questions. So that's all, and that is all for the today's lecture. We'll meet you in the next lecture. Thank you all.